When Travis Kelce picked up his phone, he had no idea the conversation would reveal something nobody saw coming about his relationship with the biggest pop star on the planet. The moment Taylor Swift called him from backstage in London, she was about to expose the shocking truth behind their connection that fans have been dying to understand. But what she revealed during that intimate phone call is just the beginning of what's hidden inside Disney Plus's explosive new docuseries that dropped overnight. And trust me, the secrets buried in these first 2 episodes are about to shake everything you thought you knew about the Eras Tour. Right now, millions of Swifties are frantically streaming The End of an Era, the 6-episode bombshell that landed on Disney Plus at midnight, and within hours, the internet absolutely exploded. This isn't just another concert documentary. What filmmakers captured during those final months of touring goes way deeper than anyone expected. Behind every glittering costume and perfectly choreographed routine lies a web of untold stories, personal struggles, and intimate moments that Swift never intended the world to see. The cameras were rolling when everything changed during those terrifying Vienna terror threats. They caught her raw reaction to the devastating tragedy in England, where 3 young girls lost their lives at a Swift-themed event. And perhaps most revealing of all, they documented the exact moment when her relationship with Kelce transformed from a celebrity romance into something that might actually be real. The first episode opens with Swift driving through London streets in August, and immediately she's on the phone with Travis. What starts as a casual check-in before her concert suddenly becomes this intensely vulnerable conversation where Swift admits something shocking about their careers. She compares their lives in a way that makes you realize just how isolated these 2 superstars actually are. Kelce's talking about his NFL plays, his teammates, his coach, Andy Reid, and Swift fires back with this wild comparison, saying she's got songs to remember just like he's got plays. She's got her mom as her coach. She's got her crew as teammates. Then she drops this bomb, telling him, "Some people get a vitamin drip. I got this conversation." The desperation in her voice is real. This isn't the polished Taylor Swift persona. This is someone who genuinely needs this person on the other end of that phone call to function. But here's where it gets darker. Swift had just been forced to cancel her Vienna shows after authorities uncovered a planned terror attack targeting her concert. Thousands of fans were left devastated. Security concerns were at an all-time high, and Swift was spiraling. The docuseries doesn't shy away from showing how shaken she was during this period. When she finally made it to London for those rescheduled shows, the pressure was crushing. That phone call with Kelce wasn't just romantic, it was a lifeline. She needed to hear his voice telling her he wished he could be there, needed that connection to someone who understands what it's like when millions of eyes are watching your every move. The documentary reveals how she barely slept during those weeks, how every decision felt impossibly heavy, how the weight of knowing that violence had been planned against her fans nearly broke her. Then, something unexpected happened during that first London show. The crowd showed up with an energy that Swift describes as wilder than anything she'd ever experienced. The second her car door shut after the performance, she immediately called Travis again. The footage shows her in full costume, makeup still perfect, but her voice cracking with emotion as she tells him, "Baby, it's like the crowd knew I needed a pick-me-up." This moment exposes something crucial about their dynamic. Kelce isn't just arm candy at football games. He's become the person she turns to when everything feels like it's falling apart. Her mom, Andrea, confirms this later in the series when she's caught on camera saying, "Travis Kelce brings a lot of happiness," but the way she says it suggests there's been plenty of unhappiness lurking behind the scenes. The docuseries also pulls back the curtain on something fans have been speculating about for months. During the middle of her tour, Swift dropped The Tortured Poets Department, her most emotionally raw album yet, and immediately decided to add an entire section of new songs to the already 3-hour marathon show. What the documentary reveals is absolutely insane. The production team had to find a top-secret rehearsal facility during their only scheduled break, choreograph brand new numbers, design costumes, program lighting cues, and somehow keep everything under wraps until the Paris debut. Dancers are shown rehearsing until they're physically exhausted. Crew members are working around the clock, and Swift is in the middle of it all, pushing herself harder than anyone, refusing to compromise on a single detail. One of her backup dancers, captured in a candid moment, admits, "I have never seen a boss with this much passion about their job." But there's an edge to that statement. Passion can quickly become obsession, and the documentary doesn't hide the toll this relentless drive takes on everyone involved. Swift herself acknowledges that mysterious forces are at play that she'll never control, and you can see the anxiety in her eyes when she talks about needing everything to be perfect. This isn't confidence. This is someone terrified of letting down the 70,000 people who showed up expecting magic every single night. The series features appearances from some of the biggest names who joined Swift on stage. Sabrina Carpenter shows up looking genuinely nervous before her surprise New Orleans performance, and there's this fascinating moment where Swift calls her ahead of time to coordinate their plan. Swift loves keeping secrets, loves the thrill of surprising her audience, and watching her plot these moments reveals a calculating side to her personality that doesn't always match the bubbly public image. Ed Sheeran makes an appearance. Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine gets her moment. Gracie Abrams is there. Each of these artists talks about what it means to be part of the era's phenomenon, but there's also this undercurrent of how overwhelming it must be to step into Swift's perfectly controlled universe, where nothing happens by accident. Travis Kelce's presence throughout the documentary is both everywhere and nowhere. He's not physically on camera for most of the first 2 episodes, but his influence permeates everything. Swift is shown wearing Kansas City Chiefs merchandise during rehearsals, a not-so-subtle Easter egg for fans who've been tracking every detail of their relationship. The documentary includes that famous moment from the June Wembley show where Kelce actually appeared on stage during the Tortured Poets Department section, dressed in a top hat and tails, helping Swift prepare for I Can Do It with a Broken Heart. The behind-the-scenes footage shows them rehearsing that bit, laughing together, and then there's this shot of them backstage afterward where they share a quick kiss before Swift has to rush back for the next section. But the real revelation comes from understanding how they maintained this relationship while both operating at the absolute peak of their careers. The docuseries was filmed during August, when Kelce had already returned to Kansas City for NFL training camp. Long distance wasn't just inconvenient for them, it was logistically nightmarish. Swift's performing for sold-out stadiums across Europe, while Kelce is preparing for another Super Bowl run. The phone calls shown in the documentary aren't just sweet couple moments, they're proof that 2 people living in completely different time zones, under completely different pressures, found a way to make it work when everyone assumed it was just a publicity stunt. Swift's transformation throughout the series is striking. The woman planning the Eras Tour 2 years before it started is confident, excited, determined to overserve her fans with an unprecedented set list spanning her entire catalog. By the time cameras start rolling during those final months, there's exhaustion written all over her face. She's still giving everything on stage, still hitting every note perfectly, still connecting with the audience, but the cost of maintaining that level of excellence is becoming increasingly visible. Her team describes the tour as the biggest challenge any of them have ever faced. That's not hyperbole. Nearly 2 years of constant travel, performing 3-hour shows multiple nights per week, dealing with security threats, managing a crew of hundreds, and trying to maintain some semblance of a personal life created pressure that would destroy most people. The documentary also addresses something Swift rarely discusses publicly: her complicated relationship with fame itself. She's built this empire, achieved success beyond anything most artists could dream of, and yet there are moments captured where she seems genuinely trapped by it all. The machine surrounding her is enormous. Every decision involves dozens of people. Every song choice gets analyzed. Every outfit creates headlines. The Vegas terror plot wasn't just scary because of the threat to her fans. It was a stark reminder that her existence has become so culturally significant that people would plan violence around it.
That's a level of fame that stops being glamorous and starts feeling like a prison.
What makes this docuseries different from Swift's previous projects is the willingness to show vulnerability. Her earlier Folklore Long Pond Studio Sessions documentary was beautifully intimate, but carefully controlled. This time, filmmakers were given access during moments when control wasn't possible. Swift crying in her dressing room, Swift pacing nervously before shows, Swift admitting she's terrified, Swift calling her boyfriend for emotional support because she can't handle the pressure alone. These aren't manufactured vulnerable moments designed to make her seem relatable. These are real glimpses of someone barely holding it together while the entire world watches. The supporting cast of performers, crew members, and family all paint a picture of someone who demands perfection, but somehow manages to make people love working for her anyway. Her attention to detail borders on obsessive. During one scene, she's explaining to her mother how a surprise song mashup should flow, listing specific verses and bridges and tempo changes with the precision of someone who's memorized every second of every song she's ever written. Her mom just listens, slightly overwhelmed, and you realize that living inside Taylor Swift's brain must be absolutely exhausting. Disney Plus releasing both the docuseries and the final concert film simultaneously was a strategic move that's already breaking streaming records. The final show, filmed in Vancouver, features the complete Tortured Poets Department set that wasn't included in the original theatrical Eras Tour movie. Fans who thought they'd seen everything are discovering entire sections they missed. The combination of intimate documentary footage with a full concert experience creates this immersive package that keeps viewers glued to their screens for hours. 2 episodes dropped at midnight, with 2 more coming each week until the finale on December 26th. The release schedule is designed to maximize engagement, keeping the conversation alive for weeks.
But the real question everybody's asking after watching these first episodes is what's coming next. The trailer teases more Travis Kelce moments, including footage that appears to show him backstage after her final Vancouver performance. There are hints about the emotional toll of ending the tour, discussions about what comes next for Swift's career, and presumably more revelations about the relationship that's dominated headlines for over a year. The series promises to take fans through the complete journey, right up until that final bow in Vancouver, when Swift officially closed this chapter of her life. What the end of an era ultimately reveals is that the Eras Tour wasn't just the biggest concert series in history. It was a 2-year emotional marathon that tested everyone involved in ways they never anticipated. Swift created something unprecedented, a cultural phenomenon that transcended music and became this shared experience for millions of people worldwide. But that level of impact comes with a price. The documentary doesn't shy away from showing what that price looked like behind the curtain. The exhaustion, the fear, the pressure, the sacrifices, the moments when everything almost fell apart. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, Swift found someone who made her feel like maybe she wasn't completely alone in this impossible situation. The 6 episodes promise to unpack everything that made the Eras Tour the defining cultural moment of this generation. From the meticulous planning stages, to the devastating Vienna cancellations, to the triumphant final show, cameras captured it all. Swift's willingness to let filmmakers document her at her most vulnerable creates a documentary that feels less like promotion and more like a confessional. This is an artist at the absolute peak of her powers, looking back at what she accomplished and finally admitting how close she came to breaking under the weight of it all. For fans who attended shows, this is a chance to relive the magic and understand what was happening behind the scenes during their specific concert. For everyone else, it's a masterclass in what it actually takes to operate at the highest levels of entertainment, while somehow maintaining your sanity. The conversation between Swift and Kelce that opens the series sets the tone for everything that follows. 2 people at the top of their respective fields, finding common ground in the shared understanding that success at this level is isolating, demanding, and often overwhelming. When Swift tells him that his calls are like a vitamin drip, she's not being romantic. She's being honest about needing that connection to survive the experience. The documentary doesn't promise a fairy tale ending, it promises truth. And based on these first 2 episodes, that truth is way more complicated, more human, and more fascinating than anyone expected.